All right, here we have order of operations. I've made a previous video that's on PowerPoint. However, my students told me, you speak way too slow. It's boring. I'm like, okay, well, I'll adjust a little bit. And this one's also on a whiteboard, so I'll have different segments of it. So what is order of operations? It's telling you which order to do your operation signs. So as you're looking at a problem, you may have a multiplication symbol, you may have an addition symbol. It's telling you which one to do first. So you got different acronyms here. You can use either one, whichever one helps you remember. A lot of people, they go with PEMDAS. I've seen GEMDAS now. PEMDAS is what I grew up with. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. GEMDAS, I made something up. Give everyone more donuts and Skittles. People like sweets. So at the end of the day, though, the P and the G refer to the same thing. That's grouping symbols. And I'll show you here soon what the symbols are and what they stand for and what you do with them. Then you go with exponents. That's what the E stands for. Then you got multiplication and division, but it's left to right. If there is no parentheses or brackets or braces, and it's just a multiplication and division sign, it's whichever one comes first to the left, just like you're reading a book, from left to right. And then you have addition and subtraction. They go with a similar way as multiplication and division, whichever one is on the left first, if it's not in a parentheses. So, parentheses, brackets, braces, they all go first. Now, when you're dealing with your grouping symbol, it's from inner to outer, and I'll go over that shortly as well. Then you have exponents, multiplication and division from left to right. Then you have addition and subtraction from left to right. All right. Here we have your parentheses or your grouping symbols, depending on which one you go with. You got parentheses, which is kind of in a little curve right here, like a C. Then you have brackets, which is in a half a box. And then you got braces, which looks similar to a pumpkin that fell over. Get your pumpkin there. Now, when you're doing these, you're going to go inner to outer. So as they write problems, they would have a number in parentheses right here. And then if they had another number that goes with this specific order of operations, they would go with brackets on the outside. And then they would go with braces. Okay, so all this is telling us is that from inner to outer. So which one's the inner ones? Well, that's our parentheses. So whatever number that gives us, we would solve that. And I always tell my students to bring down everything. So this would be brought down, and then you'd have that number in order of operation here. You would solve it, and I'm going to give you an example here in just a moment. Once you solve that, you bring it down, and then you solve everything that's in here. So the braces and the answer to that, and then you get it. Now that's a big scribble, so I'm going to make it more understandable with a problem. So I'm just going to erase this, and you can refer back to it if you want. So now we have, there's our parentheses. Now I'm going to go with our brackets. And I'll just stick with that one for right now. Okay, so all I have in this one is I have parentheses and I have brackets. The first thing we do is from inner to outer. The parentheses are inner. We would do 2 plus 4, which would give us 6. Now don't forget your brackets. The reason being is if this is multiplication, you forgot your brackets, you would do this first. Then you bring this down. Now you would have 3 times 6, and then 7 plus 3 times 6. Now we got our brackets here. We do what's in the brackets, 3 times 6. That gives us 18. Bring down the 7 plus. And then we finish it off, 18 plus 7. It gives us 25. Now, like I said, as I told my students, as if you work them and bring everything down, upside down pyramid, I call it a funnel, upside down cone, anything that helps you remember. You'll have all of your operations up here, and it should funnel all the way down until you get your answer. All right, let's change that up just a tad to give you different looks. So what if brackets first. Well, what if we draw it like this? We still do the inner first, which is going to be our parentheses. Now this is in brackets, and I'll even go out there, okay? So now we have a problem. We have a 4 minus 2 in parentheses. Now in our brackets, we got the parentheses and then multiply by 2. And then on the outside of our grouping symbols, we have times 4. So what do we do first? We do the inner first, which is going to give us 4 minus 2. You take 2 away from 4, it's going to give you 2. Bring this down. Don't forget your brackets. And don't forget the number and operation that's on the outside. If you forget to bring this down, see, it even looks like a frowny face thinking you're going to forget it. If you forget to bring this down, you're just going to end up with this, and you're going to have 4. 4 is not your solution. Okay, so make sure you bring down your multiply by 4. Now, solve in the brackets, because it's a grouping symbol. 2 times 2 gives us 4. Bring down the times 4. That's going to give us 16. Okay, so remember, do inner to outer of the grouping symbols first. Now let's try a different one. This time we're going to throw in braces. Okay, so 4 times 2 plus 6. There's my brackets. Now, it wouldn't matter if the 6 plus was over here, just showing you different ways it looked. Because community property tells us you can replace that whichever way. Now, with that, now we're going to go brace. Yes, braces. Sometimes I get my words mixed up. Okay, so with this, we now have 3 grouping symbols. We got a parentheses, we have our brackets, and now we got our braces on the outside. We're still going inner to outer. Okay, so we're going to do the parentheses first because it's the inner grouping symbol. That's going to be 4 times 2, which is going to be 8. Always bring it down. I'll say it over and over again. I know it can get old hearing it, but if you leave out one step, the whole problem is going to be wrong if you get to your answer. So bring everything down, even the grouping symbol. Okay, so we got our bracket there. Bring down our plus 6. Now we got our 3 plus. Put your braces out there. And then we have minus 8. Now we're still going to do the inner grouping symbol, which is, in this case, now we're dealing with our brackets. So we would do 8 plus 6, which is going to give me 14. I'm going to bring down my braces. And then the operation that's on the outside of all your grouping symbols, do not forget the other numbers. Okay, so now you have a minus 8. So now we're left with one more grouping symbol. That right there is our braces, so we got to do that. 3 plus 14, that's going to give us 17 minus, and once we bring this down, 8. 17 minus 8 gives us 9. So it's all funneling down to your answer down here at the bottom, and that's how you work problems like that. And just make sure you don't forget to bring down other numbers. All right, I'll give you another example. And this one has sometimes confused my students because it throws them off. So what do you do if you have something like this? Well, yeah. So now we got 2 different grouping symbols. We got parentheses right there and there. We've got to do the parentheses before we ever get to the multiplication operation or the subtraction operation. Okay? So make sure we do the parentheses first before we get down here. So start from this one right here. 4 plus 8. That's going to give us 12. Okay? Bring all this down. That's where we get that. Bring down your subtraction sign. Now we have to solve this one. Now some of my students, they'll go ahead and solve it and put it in there. I'll go an extra step and just bring that one piece down. This way you can see every little step that I do. Now we have a parenthesis here, so we have to do this first. So 10 plus 2 is going to give us 12. Bring down your minus sign. Now the only reason I went backwards is to make sure it fit well. Now we don't have any more grouping symbols. Now we don't have any exponents. So what we're left with is a multiplication sign and a subtraction sign. In order of operations, GMDOS. The multiplication and division goes before addition and subtraction. Even if this multiplication sign was here, the multiplication would go first. So we're going to solve 3 times 12 gives us 36. Bring down our subtraction sign. 36 minus 12, that's going to give us 24. Still got your funnel. You know, with the parentheses, that almost looks like eyebrows right here. I tend to do that too often. All right, here we are dealing with exponents. I'm just giving you a quick example of this because this is just a basic tutorial of your order of operations. So exponents. I have another video of that as well. Okay, so you have a number raised, and here's your whole number. You have it raised up here. This right here, that is your exponent. Now what that's telling you to do is to multiply this number that many times. So for instance, 2 to the 4th power, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's where the exponent comes in. And then you would just solve it like normal. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring everything down. 8 times 2, 16. So 2 to the 4th power gives you 16. Okay, that's what exponents are telling you to do. And another example is if you had 3 to the 2nd power. So there's our number. How many times do we got to multiply it? 2 different times. So 3 times 3. There's your first one, there's your second one. There's your exponent. Now, that gives you 9. Now, if you had 3 to the 3rd, now it's going to be 3 times 3 times 3. There's your first, second, and third one. That's where you get your exponent from. As you've seen right there, it gives us 9 times 3 is 27. So 3 to the 3rd is 27. 3 to the 2nd, or 3 squared, is 9. Okay? So that's what exponents are telling you to do. Now, so what if we see that in a problem? What if you have 2 plus 4 to the 2nd? Okay, remember, there's no grouping sign, so we'll go to the next step. So I'm going to put it right here. Now, I'll show you why this is the way it is right there, why I write that up. There's no grouping symbols. So since that's out, now we go to exponents. We have an exponent. This is our exponent right here, the 2. So we're going to solve this. Remember, that's telling us how many times we got to multiply this for. There's your first one and your second one. Okay, that's going to give us 16. So as we bring all this down, there's where we got the plus sign, there's where we got our 2. The 4 to the 2nd power, that's going to give us, or 4 squared, that's going to give it 2 plus 16, and we just solve that. 2 plus 16 gives us 18. That would be our answer with that. Okay, so that's how the exponents work. In 5th grade, usually we do powers of 10. We won't go too high with those. It's just understanding what exponents are. All right, now we got multiplication division. We've already did the G or the P, whichever one you went with. We've already done that when we went with exponents. Now we're going to go to the multiplication and division. Now, oddly enough, just off my head, I figured this out just in the last 5 minutes. If you draw an arrow with it like that, that's going to tell you that you're going from left to right. Okay, and I'll show you what that means right here. So we got multiplication and division. And you're going from left to right if there's no grouping symbol. So what that's telling us is Okay, if we have 8 times 2 divided by 4, because it's multiplication and division, there's no grouping signs or exponents, we go left to right. Which one appears on the left first? The multiplication sign. So we're going to multiply 8 times 2 first, which gives us 16, and then we're going to bring down what's left. So that's divided by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now that's just a tiny example of how that works. Now, so what happens if you go the opposite way? Okay, so I'll write the same stuff out. Now, I change the signs. Now we're still going left to right. So instead of doing multiplication first, which one appears on the left first? Well, that's our division sign. So 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. Bring down what's left. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so it changes how things are done if we go by order of operations. So 8 divided by 2 multiplied by 4 is not the same as 8 times 2 divided by 4. Okay, that would give us 16 divided by 4. See, 2 different answers. So you have to go from left to right when there is no grouping sign. Now, to give an example, let's see. I'll even throw a bracket in here. All right, so we got a division sign, we got a multiplication sign, an addition sign. Now we got some grouping signs. We have parentheses, we got brackets, and then we got the lone number right here. So we still go inner to outer first. Okay, so that's going to be our 4 plus 8, which is going to give us 12. Now, remember, bring everything down with it. Okay, so we still got a grouping sign. The grouping sign go before anything else. So because it's in our brackets, we do 36 divided by 12, which is going to give us 3. And we're going to bring down the 2. 2 times 3 gives us 6. Okay? So what if we have okay? So there's no grouping signs. So this problem right here is kind of out there. There's no grouping signs. So we're going to go with every step of our GEMDOS that we have. Draw my arrow there. So no grouping signs. So I can go ahead and count that out. Is there any exponents? No. So there's no exponents. Now we got multiplication and division, whichever one's furthest on the left, and then we have addition and subtraction. That does not look like an A. There we go. So do we have a multiplication and division sign? Yes, we do. We have a division sign there and a multiplication sign there. So which one do we do first? Well, we go with the one that's on the left, which in this case is a division sign. So 32 divided by 8 is going to give us 4. And bring everything else down with it. Because if you leave this out, you're going to have a bad answer. Now, do we have any other multiplication and division signs? Well, we got multiplication, which is right here. And remember, multiplication goes before addition, so 4 times 2 goes before 4 plus 4. So 4 times 2, that gives us 8, and bring down what's left. 4 plus 8 gives us 12. Still creating a funnel. So you have to remember from left to right when it's multiplication and division. Now that same rule applies to addition and subtraction. Okay. Draw a little arrow. All right, so with addition and subtraction, you're doing the same way as you did multiplication and division, from left to right. So if I have 8 minus 2 plus 4, which one is on the left? That's our subtraction sign, because there's no grouping sign. Okay, we're going to do the 8 minus 2 first, which is going to give us 6. Bring everything down that's left. I always draw it or draw a line under it to represent it. We brought down the 4, and now we finish it off with a 6 plus 4, which gives us 10. Okay? Now, if you've seen it like this right here. The addition sign's on the left, so we're doing that first. So 10 plus 2 is 12 minus 5. Bring down everything that's left. That is going to give us 7. Now, there are times where if you do it backwards, it might accidentally come out right. But always stick with doing it the right way. That way when times get difficult, you're able to do it. Okay, so now, what about this? Okay, we have 10 minus, and then we got a grouping symbol. So we got our parentheses, 2 plus 4. So the first thing we do, because we have a grouping sign, remember, GEM-DOS. I know I'm pushing my GEM-DOS idea. PEM-DOS, GEM-DOS, whichever one you want to use. I'll put a P up there just to be nice. So we have a grouping symbol, which is the parentheses. So 2 plus 4 goes first, and that's going to give me 6. Okay, bring down what's left. 10 minus 6, and that's going to give me 4. Okay. Now I'm going to draw up an even bigger problem. That way you can pause it, you can look at it, and you can kind of try to solve it yourself. All right, now this is kind of a bigger problem. Okay, I just created it off the top of my head, so sorry that was such a delay. So using GEM-DOS, we go inner to outer first, and we have a parentheses. Okay, so we're going to do the addition part because it's in the parentheses, that goes first. So 5 plus 4 gives me 9. Bring everything down, even the other symbols, the grouping symbols, bring down the times 2. Bring everything on the left side, 24 minus. And then we have, bring all this down as well. Okay, so we still have a grouping symbol. With this one right here, this is our brackets. We have to do this first. So we have 9 times 2, which is going to give us 18. Now bring everything down with it. Now we don't have any more grouping symbols. So what is our next step? Well, we're going to look and see if we have any exponents. None of those have exponents. So using GEM-DOS, grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication and division. Do we have any multiplication and division? We do. We have a multiplication sign right there. So we're going to do the 4 times 2 first because there's a multiplication sign. That's going to give us 8. Bring everything down, including the operation signs. I go backwards just to make sure it fits. Okay, so I brought all that down. Now we have a subtraction sign and an addition sign. There's no grouping symbols, there's no multiplication division, no exponents. So we go from left to right. And the first thing we have is a subtraction sign. So 24 minus 18 is going to give us 6. Bring everything down with it. 6 plus 8, that gives us 14. So, drawing our funnel, okay, you end up with 14. So that is a basic idea of how order of operations works. Remember, you got GEM-DOS or PEM-DOS, whichever one you want to use. I draw the arrow there, or GEM-DOS, okay. So these are grouping signs, these are exponents, multiplication and division from left to right, and then you go to addition and subtraction from left to right. Okay, it's just, you could have 40 different numbers, but as long as you follow the proper order of operations, you will end up with a correct answer.